喂，錄住你畫㗎，可能又成為啲網紅。你畫咁大，我真係多謝。快啲，快啲，最緊要聽識。Okay, so actually this diagram is very simple. Okay, so although this looks very complicated, so however, if you float with the current, then you will find that so this diagram will become a very simple structures. Okay, so now if we connect the battery like this, then the current will flow. The current will flow to this point, right? So how many pumps will the current go out?
3.
3. Okay, so it can either go this one, and this one. So from the questions, all the resistors are identical, right? So and these diagrams are symmetric. So it's obvious that no matter which path the current choose, the same resistance of that path for those currents. 咁所以呢個 current 即係會係點樣㗎？呢個 current 會點樣？有乜關係啊 ？What's the relations between these three currents？
Same.
喂，後面係邊個？哦，仲有邊？呢三條 currents 會點樣？
一樣。
Okay, so these three currents supposed to be the same, right? So I1, so let it be I1, I2, and I3. So I1 equals to I2 equals to I3. So and the key point is that these three resistors are identical. So what will happen? 咁咧，大家就可以諗啦。如果呢個 I1 咧，佢一開始咧喺呢個 point 啫，佢係 10V 啦，譬如佢行嚟呢度擺低咗5個 V。OK， 嗱，而家每一條 path 嘅 current 都係一樣噶嘛，係咪 ？So we assume that those electrons carry 10V。好啦，我有一次有 10V， 我嚟呢度擺低咗5個 V。OK， so we drop 5V here. So what's the voltage at this point? What's the voltage at this point? If the electrons or the current choose this path? 5V, right? Okay, so for the middle path, so it's the same, they have the same type of current. Okay, so and same magnitudes of voltage. So when you drop 5V for this resistor, so at this point, the voltage will be 5V. So same for the last one. So we drop 5V here. So at the beginning there is 10V, and then we drop 5V for this resistor. So 5V to remain. Okay. So first you need to know that these 3 points have the same voltage. So are you okay with that? These 3 points have the same voltage. Since this diagram is totally symmetric, right? So it's obvious that they will have the same voltage at these 3 points. And what will happen if the voltage is the same for the wire? So imagine something like this. Well, what's the meaning of same voltage? So for a battery, so if the battery is with 2V, so here is 2V, so how many voltage is here? 0, right? So another one, so we have a 2V and 0V battery. So if we connect the wire here, is there any current?
No.
Is there any current if we connect the wire here? No current, right? So because we need to connect the positive terminals with the negative terminal in order to get the current. So now look at this path. For this path, the two ends of this path is both equals to 5V, right? So that means you connect the positive terminal like this, or you connect this wire like this. We connect the two ends to the 5V battery. So is there any current?
No.
Will there be any current?
No.
Okay, so there won't be any current. So that this two path is useless. So the diagrams will become something like this. 陣間再講多次 melody， 你唔好咁嘅樣。咁咧，所以中間嗰兩條線係廢嘅，咁中間嗰兩條線係廢咧，咁你好容易就求到啦。So these three paths are connected in parallel. Okay, so for each path there are two resistors. Okay, so again, so the key point is that you need to note at this joint point, they have the same voltage. Okay, OK 嘛，咩嚟？嗰幾個 point 有 same voltage。咁因為佢有 same voltage，你諗下呢兩個 point 係咪就係 the two edge of this wire？ So these 2 points are the 2 edge of this wire。咁所以咧，如果你當佢係當呢個 point 而家5V 啊嘛，你當佢係一粒電芯咁，粒電芯咪就咁嘅樣。OK， 咁咧呢度又係一粒電芯，咁你咁樣駁咧，咁高咁你打翻黐咯。Okay, so if you connect the two batteries like this, okay, there is no current pass through the middle wire. So in the other words, this middle wire is useless, okay? So you can erase this, so and the diagrams become something like this. So it's very easy for you to find the equivalent resistance. Then the equivalent resistance is 1 over R EQ equals to 1 over 2R plus 1 over 2R plus 1 over 2R. So the R EQ equals to 2R over 3. Okay.就算你呢度中間只不過一條普通嘅線都唔會有變化。條路好難行，不過可以行，咁慘，好難行就少啲 current。如果 resistance 係無限大就全部有 current， 但係呢個 case 唔關事嘅。So even to replace the resistance with a single wire, there will be still no current here。就算你換一條 single wire 咧，都冇 current 嘅，因為呢兩個 voltage 係相對。咁就會流落去係啦。Okay. So that the key point is that the diagram is shown to be symmetric, right? So it's obvious that every point will be the same. So no matter it's a single wire, resistor or thermistor in between, there will be no current. 就算你換條普通線落去都冇 current 嘅 ，okay? Because they have the same voltage. Okay, so that's all. 係啊，如果呢度係6V， 呢度係5V， 咁就會有 current. The current will flow from the high to low. Okay. 係啊，個 voltage 係1。你做緊咩？Turn your book to page 102. Oh. Page 102, page 102. Turn your book to page 102. Okay, so long time ago, we talked about the variable resistor. There are 2 kinds of variable resistor. So one is something like this. So you can move these things and then you change the resistance. Okay? So, or we have the rotary variable resistor. So you can rotate this button and then the resistance will be changed. Okay, so and number 24. So can you explain why when we remove part of the resistance change? The length of the wire 冇改變。So since the currents pass through different parts.
睇唔到你。
點解你睇？Okay, so when we move these things, different parts. So the current will flow through different parts of this resistor. So we can change the resistance. Okay. So if we make it to the full length, then the current will pass through the whole device. The current will pass through the whole device. So if we make it in the middle, then the current will only pass through half of the device, so that you can change the resistance. Okay. So the closest example is the control panel in the hall. 唔知有冇玩過？你推大細聲嗰啲咧，係咪？咁你向前推，向後推出嚟。冇玩過，得閒去玩下，10零萬都會。Okay, and so I don't know, do you still remember this equation? So R equals to rho L over A. So R is the resistance. Rho is the what is the rho in this equation? This rho is the resistivity. Okay, so it's a constant for the material. So for the insulator, the resistivity is very, very, very high. So L is the length. Okay, so A is the cross-sectional area. 畫個圖出嚟易睇啲啊。Cross-sectional areas of the wires. Okay, so R is the resistance. So in this case, this tells you that the longer the wire, the higher the resistance. Okay, so it's easy to understand. 咁你長啲用佢 resistance 梗係大啲啊。有咩 device 係利用呢個原理㗎？有咩 device 利用呢個原理？條線長啲，唔係有咩 device 咧？我哋想佢 resistance 好大啊。Ammeter resistance supposed to be 0, okay? So, of course, for most of the device, so like the lamp or the fans, we want to decrease the resistance, right? So, we can save the energy. However, for some device, we want to increase the resistance. 一個我會諗到一個風筒，有冇睇過風筒入邊啊？你全部都用 Dyson 的神 Dyson 邊度？石度嘛，啲咁高級嘢做喺澳用有個。如果咧你屋企咧有嗰啲傳統嘅風筒咧，咁咧你望入去咧，即係你開住咧望入去，你會見到啲咩嘢啊？你會見到一啲紅色嘅線嘅。咁其實嗰啲紅色線係咩嚟咧 ？So when the current pass through the wire, so if the resistance is large, then P equals to I squared R, right? So all the energy, P equals to I squared R. So all the energy will be consumed. So all the energy will be consumed by this wire. Okay, so become heat. So 咁點解你吹風你吹頭就想吹乾佢嘛係咪？咁所以啲風吹出嚟嘅時候咧 ，will pass through this heated wire. Okay, so it becomes very hot. 咁點解佢要翹好多個圈喺度咧？佢就係想 increase the length. Okay, so as to increase the resistance. 咁所以咧，其實一個風筒咧，風筒係乜嘢嚟嘅？風筒就係一紮電線咯，你可以 B 咧自己整一個嘅，即係你攞個2蚊嗰啲風扇，跟住 攞一大紮 wire 啫，駁住佢咧，咁就係一個風扇。OK。
咁點樣搞到
凍風，凍風其實咪即係風咯？你覺得佢有凍咩？即係凍風佢咪閂咗佢開風扇㗎嘛？你當佢冷氣機嚟，抽濕啦不如。你今晚翻屋企睇下啦，定係個個都用 Dyson 啊？Dyson 就睇唔到啦。嘢冇撈啊！你買個 cheap 風筒翻嚟睇下咧，就見到佢發光㗎啦。OK，so 我想講咩？點解講嘅呢個？係啦。So for all the variable resistor, actually, what we do is to change the length. Okay, so we change this part and then to change the length. So nothing special. Okay, so now we're going to have a very simple, very simple example. Okay, so now if we have some guys like the variable resistor, okay? So which means there is lots of wire, okay? So this is the variable resistor. So if the length of this variable resistor is 2 meters, okay? And then now we connect the device like this. So when the total resistance of this device is 100 ohm, so now we connect the device like this. Okay, so and now this is 1.5 meters. So what is the resistance of this circuit? What's the resistance of this circuit? 首先你睇睇咩個圖先。好啦 ，so now the current flow here, right? The current flows from the positive terminal, and then it will pass through this spiral. 咁咧佢會唔會行去嚟呢度啊？唔會 ，there is nothing, right? So the current will flow along this path. So only part of the resistance is passed through by the current. Okay. So now, what is the resistance of this part? What's the resistance of this part? 咁咧其實好低啲嘅，因為我哋知道咧 the resistance is directly proportional to the length, right? 所以咧呢個1.5 over 2 equals to the resistance of this part over 100. Okay? So the R equals to 75 ohm. 75. Okay, so they are directly proportional to each other. So the longer the wire is passed through, the higher the resistance.因為呢個長度係1.5啊，跟住呢個長即知咩 directly proportional？ 唔係嗱，而家2蚊咧就買到100個蘋果，係咪？咁個半買到幾多個蘋果啊？就係咁嘅，即係 directly proportional。你諗明？
嗰個 resistivity。
錯啦，我錯啦，重新嚟講。 唔係啊，我錯嘅意思係高估咗你哋智商嘅意思。好啦，即係而家咧 ，R1 就 equals to row 1 L1 over A1 係咪 ？R2 equals to row 2 L2 over A2. Okay? So R1 to R2 呢個係咪一樣㗎？同一個 materials 啊嘛，係咪？咁所以一個 row 唔得，我要寫。咩點解要咁樣㗎？依家你又唔明，我又要寫多次。row one 咧一樣，因為同一個 materials 啊嘛，係咪？area 有冇分別啊？呢條 wire 同一條，即係同一種 materials 同一種 materials 個 row 就一樣。跟住佢呢條 wire 咧，你切開呢度咧，佢嘅 cross sectional area 呢個 A 係一樣噶嘛，即係嗰條 wire 你當佢嘅 diameter 係一樣噶嘛，所以呢個就約咗啦。Okay, so that R1 over R2 equals to L1 over L2. So is that okay now? 其實係計三番值嘅，不過都係一樣啫。你中意可以乘翻 2πr 再乘翻幾多 bit 冇，但係全部都會約晒啊嘛，明唔明？即係其實呢個 length 咧應該係計新番值嗰個 length 嘅，不過佢新番值就係一樣，即係個 portion 係一樣噶嘛，你明唔明？咁所以咧就係咁，同埋冇人會整個新值咗嘅 variable resistance 出嚟。咁唔係好嘥位咯？你3公里咁樣，咁你整，你梗係翹埋佢啦。嚇？唔使用咁多，你咪褪埋啲，你咪褪到嚟呢度。即係如果唔使用咁多，你唔想個 resistance 咁大，你咪駁條 wire 喺度。
因為一樣。
嗰條 wires actually they are the same wires, okay? So of course they have the same cross-sectional area, or the diameter of the wires are supposed to be the same. Okay, so any questions? Any questions? So just memorize that. They are proportional to each other. The length and the resistance. Ooh, 係咁玩嘅窗簾啊！Okay, so this another case. Okay, so you have a variable resistor like this, and then what do I do now? 係啊，咁咧有個小朋友咧就好調皮喎。So one of your classmates connect the light bulb like this. Okay. So the power supplied is 10 ohm or 10 V. Okay. 咁咧呢度係一半啦，方便啲計，呢度係1 meter，呢度係又係1 meter。Okay. So the resistance of the whole the resistance of this whole curve spiral is 100 volts. Hold on. Okay, so and then out of this light bulb is 50 ohm. Okay, so can you tell me the current passed through this light bulb? Okay, so find the current passed through this light bulb. 幾耐性？幫你集住。自己話 find the current of this light bulb。呢邊有時候會有啲。首先咧，呢個圖你睇唔睇得明啊？睇唔睇得明發生咗咩事？我意思係。
睇得明。
嚇？
明。
好啦，我同大家行一次咧，大家再自己畫啦。Okay, so when the current pass through here. Okay, so at the beginning, it's obvious that it's follow the first part. So at this point, what will happen to the current?
Divided into
Okay,
two.
so it's split into two parts. So it splits into two parts. And then they join at this point. Okay, so that the upper part is connecting parallel with this part. The upper part with the lane is connected in parallel with the violet part. So think about the movements of current. Okay, so can you withdraw this circuit into something which is simple for us to calculate? 可唔可以重新畫過一個大家都睇得明嘅 circuit？ Find the currents pass through the light spot now. 唔知究竟有乜識計晒啦，power 嘅 current 嘅 voltage。好啦，咁其實咧呢個圖咧係咩意思啊？即係咩嘢？呢個圖。你又畫到咁大個添？畫喺呢度。Okay, so actually we can withdraw. If you can't see, you can stand up. So we can withdraw the circuit as the below diagram. Okay. So do you know why this equals to 50 ohm? 因為佢一半啊嘛。So this one equals to 50 ohm, so that is here. Okay, so and this is another 50 ohm connecting parallel with the light spot. Okay. So if you want to know the essential reason, then so for the first part, all current pass through the first part, right? So all current pass through the first part, and then the current is split at this point. So it's split into two parts. So it's split into two parts, and then you can form this circuit. So after you form the below circuit, I think so it's easy for you to find the current or even the power if you want. So actually the variable resistor is not very difficult in calculation. Okay, so you just think of the length the currents pass through. Okay, so if you can't understand the diagrams, then you can reconstruct the diagrams into the simpler one. So for those who already understand this diagram, so you can look at the examples of page 103. You can look at the examples of page 103.你唔可以睇個樣佢有一條直線連埋就話佢 series 嘛。佢嚟到呢個 point 之後，個 current 分開咗噶嘛，所以佢咪唔係 series。 大家都唔熟啊嘛。收啦！各位小朋友，我哋而家又嚟計呢個咯喎，呢個嘅 equivalent resistance 係幾多啊？25 and the stone 知唔知呢個係25啊？嚟多次，我未開始。1 over R EQ， 呢個 connecting parallel correct？ So equals to 1 over 50 plus 1 over 50. So this R EQ is 25 ohm. Okay, boo? 得。好樣的。So and as we find a current pass through this battery. So V equals to I out. So V is 10, I is I. Out is 50 plus 25. Okay, 50 plus 25. 呢兩個嘅 resistance 係咪25嘅合埋一齊之後？咁呢兩個合埋一齊之後，同呢個 connecting series 合埋咗一齊之後先 connecting series。好嘅。So the current is 10 over 75, 10 over 75. So which means it's 2 over 15A. Okay? So the current passed through the battery is 2 over 15. So what is the current at each part? Melody, what's the current at each part? 係咯，隨意啦，因為上下一樣嘛，而家咪隨意咯，所以就係咁。所以 So the current passed through each part is 1 over 15. That's all. Okay, so look at the page 103. Page 103. Page 103. So I give you 2 minutes to see the example 21.5. 咁咧同我啱啱講嘅基本上一模一樣嘅，你而家用2分鐘睇一睇佢，咁你就知嗰啲圖嗰啲表示。我希望你有背嗰啲 circuit symbol 啊，雖然 test 冇出。Okay, so give you 2 minutes to read the questions on show. Example 21.5. So I got it, right? B 就好啦，試就好簡單。Okay. So what is this? What is this? What is this?
手臂打機嗰啲。
So this is the top field of the balance.
嚇？
再嚟一次，唔好意思啊。So this is the top field of the balance. 踩喺度，跟住呢度就會話俾你聽你幾重啦。
咁嘅咩？
60 kg。
咁咩空心啊？
係啊。咁咧，有啲 balance 咧可以話俾你聽，你體脂肪有幾多 percent 嘅？你覺得佢係啱嘅你？
唔係。
嚇？
唔係。
咁咧，如果係真嘅，佢點樣 test 啊？
佢有個電。
係啦，冇錯啦。其實咧，佢就睇咧你個人咧個 resistance 係幾多 ？OK。譬如我先講下先嗱，譬如呢個人係60 kg 咧，一個正常嘅人類咧，譬如一個體脂肪係10% 嘅正常人類。是但啦嚇，20% 體脂嘅正常人類。哎呀，你好啊！譬如有個人20% 體脂肪，咁點嚟咧？可能佢度出嚟嘅 resistance 即係1000 ohm。點解有 resistance 啫？其實你企上呢個磅嘅時候，佢電緊你嘅。通常呢啲度到體脂肪嘅磅咧，呢度有兩塊金屬片嘅，係咪？其實佢就係 pass through 啲 current 咯，通過你個 body 跟住落去咯。係啊，跟住 check 你個 resistance。係啊，聽埋我講清楚啊！你哋，如果佢度到1000，譬如個體脂肪係20% 啦，咁你覺得佢度到1500咧？你係肥啲啊，定係瘦啲啊？係啦，因為咧脂肪係 insulator 嚟嘅，咁所以咧，如果你身體嘅 resistance 大啲咧，咁可能你就肥啲。OK， 如果你都係60 kg 咧，咁你度到譬如度到700，咁你體脂肪就細啲，因為肌肉咧係 conductor of electricity 嘅。咁所以其實呢啲磅咧，佢點樣度你體脂咧 ？Just measure your resistance。咁所以如果你想呃個磅咧，你可以整到自己10落先去磅。OK， 咁你嘅體脂就會急劇下降。OK，since you are a good conductor now， 你想問咩？唔係，其實佢已經佢 fine tune 咗，所以其實都唔係好準嘅。即係譬如佢可能就當一個正常60 kg 有10 kg 嘅 bones， 跟住有幾多 kg 嘅 blood 咁樣。即係佢已經計咗個 standard values 咯。即係譬如呢個 standard values 1000嘅時候，佢就有10% 係。所以可能亞洲人、歐洲人唔係好一樣，即係佢骨嘅 portion 咩樣，我唔係好識啊呢啲。不過反正佢就係計咗個 standard value 先咯，跟住你踩落去嘅時候，佢就話俾你聽你幾多啊。所以係，只不過個脂肪會影響你嘅 resistance，OK？ 影響得最多係個脂肪。咩萬一咩啊？但係我仲有其他嘢㗎嘛。係，咁你其他嘢你大家都係差唔多。唔係啊，咁佢咪計唔到佢咪計唔到佢係骨重。係計唔到㗎，係好唔開心。佢只可以計佢大概咯。你真係想知你就劏開自己睇下幾多脂肪。OK，so take a 2-minute break。